Only 6 men in the history of golf have ever won all 4 professional majors across their careers. Jordan Spieth has already won 3 of them, the Masters, the US Open, and the Open Championship, all by the age of 23. He needs exactly one more tournament, the PGA Championship. That's it. One trophy standing between him and a club that includes some of the greatest golfers who have ever lived. He has now tried and failed to win it 10 separate times. His best finish remains a runner-up spot from 2015 SAC, a decade ago. Since then, one more top 10, several missed cuts, and a stretch where he's gone 12 straight majors without finishing inside the top 10 at all. This is the story of the closest anyone in modern golf has come to completing the career Grand Slam, and then just not finishing it year after year for 10 years running. To understand why this drought feels so strange, you have to go back to 2015, because nothing about that year suggested this would take a decade. Spieth won the Masters. Then he won the US Open. At 21 years old, he had 2 legs of the Grand Slam completed in the same calendar year, and briefly had golf fans wondering if he might become the first player ever to win all 4 majors in a single season. He came within a single shot of the Open Championship at St. Andrews, finishing tied for 4th. Then he went to the PGA Championship at Whistling Straits, his first shot at completing the career Grand Slam, sitting just 2 shots behind the leader heading into the final round. He finished runner-up 3 shots behind winner Jason Day. 2 years later, in 2017, Spieth won the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. That gave him 3 different majors by age 23, a resume that, at the time, looked like the opening chapters of one of the greatest careers golf had ever seen. All that remained was the PGA Championship. Nobody watching in 2017 would have guessed it would still be unfinished business in 2026. Here's where the story gets uncomfortable, because the numbers from the following 9 attempts are almost uniformly rough. In his very next try, 2017's PGA Championship, Spieth had a real chance. He entered as one of the 6th men in history with a shot at the modern career Grand Slam and finished tied for 28th. The year after, he needed a late push and finished tied for 12th. Then came a tie for 55th. Then a tie for 21st at the Masters. That same season, his worst finish ever at Augusta, as part of a broader slump. In 2019, he had his best showing since Whistling Straits, a tie for 3rd, finishing 6 shots behind winner Brooks Koepka, going into the final round 9 shots back. It was progress, but still nowhere close to a win. Since 2019, in 9 total attempts at the PGA Championship since starting this Grand Slam quest, that tie for 3rd remains his only top 10 finish. In 2025 at Quail Hollow, Spieth didn't even make the cut, missing the weekend by a single shot after an opening round 76, ending any Grand Slam conversation before it even started that year. Add it all up, 10 cuts made in 13 career PGA Championship starts, 1 runner-up finish, and 1 other top 10. That's the complete record of the man closest to completing one of golf's rarest achievements. The PGA Championship struggles aren't happening in isolation. They're part of a much longer stretch where Spieth simply hasn't been the player he was in 2015. Across his last 28 majors, Spieth has recorded just 1 runner-up finish and 5 total top 10s, with an equal number of missed cuts mixed in. At one stretch, he went 12 consecutive majors without finishing inside the top 10 at all. For context, this is a 3-time major champion, a former world number 1, going over a decade removed from that peak and still searching for the consistency that once made him look unstoppable. His last worldwide victory of any kind came at the 2022 RBC Heritage. Since that win, Scottie Scheffler alone has won 19 tournaments, including an Olympic gold medal and back-to-back Hero World Challenge titles, and has taken home PGA Tour Player of the Year honors 4 seasons running. The gap between where Spieth once stood and where the sport's current best players now stand has only widened. At one stretch, Spieth's world ranking dropped to barely inside the top 50, and reportedly came close to falling outside the top 100 entirely. A stunning fall for a player who once sat at world number 1. Spieth himself has pointed to something specific rather than a vague loss of form. His short game once considered the best in golf, has become statistically one of his biggest liabilities. At the 2026 US Open, Spieth finished second in putts per green in regulation, and inside the top 20 in both driving distance and strokes, gained putting I-8 categories where he was performing well above tour average. But in strokes gained around the green, the exact skill that once defined his entire game, he finished dead last in the field, losing nearly 5 strokes to the average player in that category alone. He also finished near the bottom in scrambling and greens in regulation that week. That's a strange profile for a player once famous for getting up and down from anywhere. The parts of his game that used to bail him out of trouble are now, statistically, the parts costing him the most strokes. It's part of why he's been experimenting with equipment changes, heading into the second half of the 2026 season. A new driver, a new 3-wood, a new golf ball, and reported testing of a new putter. Searching for anything that restores stability to a game that, by his own admission, has been hitting good lines without seeing the ball go in as often as it used to. Ahead of the 2026 PGA Championship, Spieth was directly compared to Rory McIlroy, who had spent 11 years chasing the exact same missing piece, a Masters win, before finally completing his own career Grand Slam in 2025. McIlroy has spoken about what that specific kind of pressure feels like. You're not just trying to win a tournament anymore, you're trying to become part of history, and that carries a different kind of weight than any other week on tour. Spieth has echoed a similar sentiment about his own chase, saying directly that if he could win just one more tournament in his life, it would obviously be this one, specifically because of what it would complete. That's a different psychological load than chasing a normal win. Every attempt isn't just another tournament. It's another data point in a decade-long story about whether he'll ever finish what he started in 2015. There's also a smaller human detail buried in all of this. Spieth has openly admitted he misses being good enough to talk trash to his longtime rival-turned-friend Scottie Scheffler, joking that he used to have needles for Scheffler and simply doesn't have them anymore now that the gap between them has grown so wide. It's a small comment, but it captures something real about what a decade of this specific kind of struggle does to a competitor who used to operate at the very top. Here's the complicated truth sitting underneath this entire story. Even if Spieth never completes the career Grand Slam, his place in golf history is already secured. 3 majors by 23, a calendar year run in 2015 that's still talked about as one of the great young player seasons in modern golf history, and a career that's been lived more publicly and more emotionally than almost any of his peers. But golf doesn't always reward clean narratives, and McIlroy's own 11-year wait proved that these long, heavy career stories can shift in a single week, at a single venue, for reasons nobody can fully predict in advance. Spieth is 32, statistically the average age of a major champion, and by his own account, healthier and wiser than he's been in years. Whether that's enough remains genuinely unknown. What's certain is that the 10th attempt wasn't the one, and an 11th is already waiting. 3 majors, 10 tries at the 4th, a decade of near misses, missed cuts, and one heartbreaking runner-up finish that's still his best result at the tournament he needs most. Jordan Spieth's career Grand Slam chase isn't a story about talent running out. It's a story about how much harder the last, smallest step can be than every step that came before it, and how long golf can make someone wait for an answer. If you want the real stories behind the careers everyone thinks they already understand, subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel exists to dig up.